There are houses on the market in Toronto right now that I would not wish upon my worst enemy. And here's the scary part. Most buyers have absolutely no idea what they're walking into. They see the listings online, the photos look great, the neighborhood looks good, the price seems reasonable, and they're emotionally attached before they've even walked through the front door of the house. I've toured hundreds of homes across this city and the GTA. I've sat across the buyers who made the wrong call and are now stuck with the problems they didn't see coming. And I'll tell you, when I walk into one of these type of homes, I know right away it's not worth it. So today I'm breaking down the 5 types of houses I personally would never buy in Toronto and the surrounding. Not because they can't be beautiful or even have the charm, but because of the red flags that most people miss until it's too late. Let's get into it. All right, let's start with the number one that I see buyers miss the most, and it has nothing to do with the house itself. It's about what's happening around the house. Here's what I see all the time. Someone finds a listing online, falls in love with it, they go see it on Saturday afternoon when everything is quiet, they do their home inspection on Sunday, they come back for the final walkthrough, and only then do they realize what they missed. I had clients, they bought a house near an industrial strip in Scarborough. Look at it on the weekend. Everything seemed peaceful. Week one of moving in, they realized there were transport trucks running 18 hours a day behind the fence line. Quality of life, gone. And when they went to resell a couple of years later, that was the same pattern. A lot of buyers looked at it and they could not sell it because, because people saw this like industrial area and they said, you know what, forget about it. So here's what I personally check before I ever recommend a property in the city of Toronto and the GTA. We have the Gardner, the 401, the DVP, and the 400 highway noise. This is a highway city, this region. There's roads never sleeps, and when a house is sitting within a few hundred meters of one of them, the constant hum of traffic is part of your life forever. You stop hearing it after a while, but your next buyer won't. These homes take longer to sell and they sell for a lot less than their neighbors, and they're a harder story to tell when you're trying to move on. Other locations are around GO train and rail corridors, CN Rail, CP Rail, and Metrolinx. All have active corridors cutting through the GTA, Etobicoke, Scarborough, North York, Mississauga, and Brampton. Trains at all hours of the night. I know people who say they don't hear it anymore, again, same as a highway, but your next buyer is going to hear every single one on that first visit. Other location is the Pearson flight path. Pearson is one of the busiest airports in North America. There are entire communities in Etobicoke, Rexdale, part of Mississauga and Brampton that are sitting directly in the flight path. Every 60 to 90 seconds, a plane. Some of the bigger ones too as well, and you actually feel it in the walls. It affects resale. That's it. It does. Next one is TRCA flood zone. This one is dead serious and I feel very strong about it. Hurricane Hazel hit Toronto in 1954 and 81 people died. Entire neighborhood went under way and TRCA started since then. And since then, we had a lot of torrential rainfall and a lot of basement flooding is happening, and people are getting buried underwater and cars are getting buried underwater. And now in 2026, climate is more unpredictable than ever. And some of those same flood risk areas, people are still buying homes there. What most buyers don't realize is if your property is located in a TRCA regulated area, you might not be able to do any renovation or any grading work or add any structure to the backyard because it's a flood zone regulated area. Your insurance is more expensive and harder to get, and when you go to sell, far fewer buyers will touch it. Before you buy near any ravine, creek, or river in Toronto, go to TRCA website. They have a free floodplain map viewer. Type in the address and that could save you a lifelong time of grief. Other one is hydro corridors and power lines. You see these all the time in Toronto and the surrounding area. A house backing onto one of those big hydro transmission corridors, and the price always looks a little more attractive than comparable homes nearby. That should tell you something. Banks are cautious, buyers are cautious, and your pool of potential buyers on resale is smaller. And a smaller pool means less competition and lower offer. Bottom line for this whole section is, before you fall in love with the listing, zoom out on Google Map. Look at what's around it. Then go drive by on a Tuesday morning, not a Sunday afternoon. You'll see it at a completely different reality. And best is just avoid it. Don't buy them, because you're gonna have a lot of hard time selling it after. Okay, next type, and this one I really want you to pay attention to, especially if you're a first-time home buyer or someone who's not handy, not a contractor, or not someone who enjoys surprise renovation projects. I'm talking about older Toronto and GTA homes, and we have a lot of them built in 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. Beautiful home, don't get me wrong. Character homes, brick exterior, hardwood floors, high ceiling, and I get the appeal, I really do. They've got the charm that no new build can replace them. But here's what potentially hiding inside the walls. We got knob and tube wiring. This was standard electrical wiring in Toronto homes from the 1880s all the way to 1940s. And it is still hiding in the walls of thousands of houses in the city. In the Annex, Riverdale, East York, Leslieville, Roncesvalles, you name it, they're there. The problem isn't just that it's old, the problem is what it means practically. Most insurance companies will refuse to cover a home that has active knob and tube wiring because there could be some risks due to fire. Some will insure it, but require you to remove it within a set timeline. And replacing it, you're looking at about $10,000 to $20,000. And that's before you factor in the walls that you need to open up and then get it. Once you open it, then you gotta drywall it, plaster it, paint it, and that adds up fast, right? And here's the thing your regular home inspection will not catch. So your inspector, even if you inspect it, your inspector is not going to be able to see what's behind the wall, right? They're only going to see what's visible or like outside of the wall. And so you only find out when you go in and do the renovation, then you find out, and then or your insurance company will find out. Other thing is asbestos. Homes built before 1985 in Toronto have a very high chance of containing asbestos somewhere. We're talking insulation around pipes and boilers, popcorn ceiling, vinyl floor tiles even, drywall compound, roof shingles, and sidings. It was literally everywhere in construction from the 50s to 80s. Now, asbestos that is undisturbed and is in a good condition is generally not an immediate danger. But the moment you start a renovation, and you will want to renovate, trust me, you risk disturbing it. And when asbestos fiber becomes airborne, we're talking serious long-term health consequences such as lung cancer. These diseases can take up to 10 to 50 years to show up, and you won't know it until it happened decades later. And also under Ontario regulation, you're legally required to test for asbestos before any demolition or renovation in buildings built before 1986. If it's found, only a licensed abatement team can remove it. And the cost, well, we know. Removing drywall with asbestos run about $14 to $21 per square foot. And then to do the plaster, you talk about $28 to $35 per square foot. Then you got to do pipe insulation, $35 to $45 per linear foot. And in a full renovation of an older home, asbestos abatement alone can run you $10 to $15 to $20,000, $30,000. Easy before your actual renovation even begins. Next item is lead pipe and lead paint and galvanized plumbing. Lead water service pipes were standard in Toronto until well into the 1950s. Lead paint was used on walls and trim until it was banned in Canada in 1976. Galvanized steel pipes corrode from the inside out, and then it's going to restrict water flow, discoloring your water, and eventually failing completely. The City of Toronto will replace their portion of a lead water main at no cost once you replace the private portion. But the private portion, you're looking at about $2,000 to $3,000, plus they may need to break up your basement floor to get to it, and you'll be on bottled water for months until you fix the pipe. Next item is wet basements and foundation issues. In older Toronto homes, a wet basement is one of the most common and most expensive problems. And the sneaky ones are the worst, where someone has finished the basement with wood paneling old carpet, and fresh paint to cover up years of moisture damage. Always look for white chalky residue on basement walls. It means water has been moving through those walls. A strong musty smell staining on the floor as well. That's a sign of water damage. Waterproofing a Toronto basement can run $10,000 to $30,000 depending on whether you need interior drainage or exterior excavation, or in some cases both. Foundation repair on top of that, even gonna cost you more. Look, I'm not saying never buy an older home. There are great deals out there, and some of these homes have lots of characters, and they're absolutely worth it. But if you go in with your eyes wide open, if you have a proper budget for what's hiding inside, and if you're the kind of person who can handle a renovation project, then go for it. But if you're buying based on the listing photos with zero contingency budget for what might be lurking behind those beautiful old walls, that's a very expensive lesson waiting to happen. This next one, a lot of buyers don't even know it's a thing until they're already in trouble. And it's one of the most Toronto specific issue on this entire list. I'm talking about heritage designated homes, and I want to be clear, I'm not talking about just old homes. I'm talking about homes that have been formally designated under the Ontario Heritage Act. There are over 4,500 of them in GTA, and there are tens of thousands more that are currently listed on the Heritage Register, meaning they could be in the process of being designated. And you know what? Anybody can list them. A neighbor can call and say, oh, I think that's heritage. Now, these homes can be absolutely gorgeous Victorian architecture, original brick facade, century-old character that you're not gonna replicate with new construction. I understand why people fall in love with them, but here's what most buyers don't find out until after they close. You cannot just renovate it how you want. When a home is fully heritage designated, any alteration that affects the heritage attributes of that property requires a heritage permit from the City of Toronto. Not just a regular building permit, a heritage permit, which goes to heritage planning staff, then possibly to the Toronto Preservation Board, then to the City Council, and on and on and on and on. We're talking, you can't change the window without approval. And that's like a major pain in the ass, to be honest. You may be required to install wood windows only, not vinyl or even aluminum, because it has to match the heritage character of the neighborhood. You can't paint over original brick on the facade in some cases. You can't even modify the roof line. It's crazy. You can't add a dormer without going through the process. And heritage contractors who specialize in this work, they charge a premium. Trust me, because the materials are more expensive and the process is more complex. Next one is the investor flips, and I want to be very clear about something. Not every flipped home is a bad home. Some investors do exceptional work. They buy something that genuinely needs help, they fix it up properly, and then they sell a good product. If I know that investor and their work, I would consider it. But here's the reality that I see a lot in the Toronto market. I see a lot of people that just do flips and they want to maximize profit, and they end up cheaping out and just put a lipstick on a pig. Just a fresh coat of white paint everywhere, new light fixtures from Home Depot, maybe a kitchen refresh with some IKEA cabinets and a quartz countertop, and maybe sometimes new bathroom vanity, and suddenly they list the property for $200,000 more than what they paid for it 3 months ago. The cosmetic stuff looks great in photo, but the electrical, stiff knob and tube, the plumbing still galvanized, the foundation still has a water issue that they just paint over. The stuff that actually matters, the bones of the property, never got addressed. It got hidden behind fresh drywall and a coat of paint. Here's how you protect yourself. First, look at the listing history. If that house has sold 3 or 4 times in the last 4 or 5 years, something is going on. Normal homeowners in Toronto stay in their homes on average of 8 to 10 years. High turnover in a short time is a massive red flag. TREP also, the TREP data and sites like House Sigma will show you the full transaction history of any property. Use it wisely. Second, get a real home inspection, not the cheapest guy on the list. Get someone who's going to look at the electrical panel, check the plumbing, go in the crawl space, get on the roof. In this market, you have the leverage of making a conditional on inspection. Use that. Third, go back to the house without the staging and the nice furniture and the fake plant and the scented candles. All that goes away when the sellers move out. What does the house actually look like stripped of all that, right? There's walls and floors are not covered, right? So a second visit unannounced, or at least a final walkthrough with fresh eyes, it changes what you see. Last category, and I'm gonna go through a few things quickly here that all fall under the same idea. The house might be beautiful, but the specific property situation is going to hurt you either while you live there or while you go to sell. I see this constantly, a house that looks great but sits at the bottom of a slope. All the water from the street, from the neighbor's yard, and then from the driveway, it flows right towards the property. What does that mean? Potential water in the basement, foundation issue over time, and higher insurance costs. And a tougher sell, trust me. Same is true for extreme driveways, right? What I call the Mount Everest driveways. You have to essentially climb a hill to go to the front door. Might look dramatic, but your next buyer is thinking about snow in January, ice in February, and elder parents visiting. It affects price and it affects how long it takes to sell. This is a huge one in Toronto and I see it constantly. Homeowners added basement apartments by the thousands during the boom years. Some are legal, permitted, up to code, a lot are not. The City of Toronto has specific requirements for a legal second unit. Minimum ceiling height, egress window in every bedroom, and proper fire separation between units. And a separate entrance, obviously. If those boxes aren't checked, that income suit is not legal. And if the city comes knocking, and they do sometimes, they can force you to shut it down and that income disappears overnight. And good luck getting your insurance to cover a rental unit that was never permitted. Always ask, is this legal, permitted second suite? Then verify it yourself with the city as well. The other one is bad neighbors. This one people don't want to talk about. I'm going to say what nobody in real estate wants to say out loud. Bad neighbors are real problems and they affect your resale value. You go see a house, it's gorgeous, the neighbor's property, overgrown lawn, peeling paint, junk car in the driveway, maybe some hoarding situation going on in that yard, and that neighbor, they've clearly been there a long time and they're not going anywhere. And when you go to sell, every buyer who walks through your front door is going to look over at that next door neighbor as well, and they're gonna hesitate. I've seen it 100 times. It affects your sale price, it affects your time on the market, and you have zero control over it. Go look at that street on a weekday. Talk to the actual neighbors if you can also, right? Neighbors talk, they know what's happening. You want the house to be great and the back and block to be great also. Both matter. Look, buying a home in Toronto is one of the biggest decisions of your life. In this market with all the pressure, all the listings and all the competition, it's so easy to fall in love with something and overlook the things that matter. So let me give you the recap. The 5 types of houses I would personally never buy in Toronto. Number 1 is houses with the serious location problem, backing onto the highway or rail track, right on the Pearson flight path, hydro corridors, or TRCA flood zone. Always zoom out on Google Map and always check the TRCA floodplain map viewer before you get emotionally invested. Number 2, old money pit houses, especially if you're not a contractor and you don't have a serious renovation budget. Knob and tube wiring, asbestos, lead pipes, and wet basements. They're all real and they're expensive to fix. And they're hiding in thousands of Toronto homes. Go in with your eyes wide open. Number 3, heritage designated homes, unless you fully understand the renovation restrictions and the cost involved. Check the City of Toronto Heritage Property Search tool before you make any decision. Number 4, sketchy investor flips. Check the listing histories, get a real inspection, and don't let fresh paint and nice staging cloud your judgment. And number 5, bad lots and property traps. Drainage issue, extreme grading, illegal basement apartments, and bad neighbors. These things affect your daily life and your resale, and they are all avoidable with the right due diligence. Every single one of these situations is avoidable with the right guidance, the right questions, and the right person in your corner. That is literally what I do every single day. If you got a property you're looking at right now and you want a second opinion, or you're just starting your search and you want to make sure you're doing this right, book a free 30-minute call with me. Link is right in the description. And if this video helped you, hit the like button and share it with your friends, and I'll see you on the next one.